Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. I've got a bourbon on the bar I don't know a damn thing about. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is Augusta Distillery Buckner's aged 10 years from non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang. And I said I don't know a damn thing about this bourbon, and for those of you that watch the show regularly, that's probably not shocking because it's kind of an ongoing thing that I don't always do the best research on bottles. So, you know, a lot of times I'm reviewing whiskey I don't know a damn thing about. But this one in particular is one, before Dave sent this sample over, it's a brand I'd never even heard of before. And so I thought maybe it was like a local store pick or something like that. And from what I can tell, I went on the distillery website, and of course there's, you know, barely any information as per the usual with distillery websites. The only thing that I can find on a 10-year product from them is a 10-year single barrel that's available at the distillery for $150, I think it was. So this banger is 109.6 proof. And yeah, I don't know where this whiskey comes from. I don't know if it's sourced, if it's their own. I don't know. I don't have the bottle, so I can't see the state of distillation. I don't know where they're based out of. I'll try to put that information on the screen. So yeah, let's just, I guess this is another one of those where it's like, okay, not gonna find out a ton of information about the whiskey, but we'll go through the tasting notes, find out if it's worth putting in your mouth at $150. And on the nose, I gotta tell you, this thing is rich. Man, there is a ton. At 109.6 proof, there is a lot jumping out of the glass. There is a lot of ethanol with it, but there's a lot of flavor coming through. And it is kind of standard down the middle. It's not, I'm not getting anything wild, but I'm just getting a nice, rich, kind of barrel forward, but a nice sweetness alongside with that. There is something maybe a little different about this that I'm having a hard time putting my finger on. There's kind of like a sting to it. There's some sort of like a sharp note, not necessarily in a bad way. It's just something, there's something coming through that really has a sharp edge to it, but yeah, more in a good way, actually. It's got just like a nice, I don't know, bold, rich flavor to it. So let's get into the palate, see if we can figure out what this thing is. Cheers. That is pretty freaking good. Wow. That thing is like super, super rich. Really, really dense flavors. Nice texture, nice mouthfeel. As far as flavor notes go, right off the bat, I mean, the palate is kind of mimics the nose in the sense that it's fairly traditional bourbon notes. But they're just really, really well balanced and very, very rich. And there's a nice texture to this. Every bit of that 10 years shows up on the palate. I think I got to get right into the second sip, just right off the bat, to really kind of pay a little closer attention. Cheers. So when I cut away there, I had to actually sit here and really sip this one for a little bit. That first sip, I just kind of got the general flavors of it, and the reason I wanted to jump right back into it and pick it apart is there's some stuff going on here that I'm having a hard time, you know, really kind of putting just a direct flavor note to it. It, like I said, it has all the standard, you know, kind of bourbon profile. I feel like the brown sugar and the caramel and the vanilla, which are very, very standard tasting notes on a bourbon, are really present on this, and they kind of work well together to give like this underlying sweetness. But this is a very oak forward bourbon, at least that's the experience I'm having with it. And it's an interesting drinking experience because the texture is great, the viscosity is great, the mouthfeel, that really kind of boosts it up into like a premium level bourbon experience. But the way this kind of manifests itself, it's like on the front of the palate, you get a little bit of that oak on it, and then you kind of get like you kind of pick up those nice sweetness, underlying sweetness, like I said, the standard, you know, caramel, vanilla, brown sugar. And then there's this building heat of like oak spice on the backside of it. Like I was having a hard time trying to pinpoint what that flavor was, that building heat, because it's not like a cinnamon heat or anything like that. It's not a rye spice, but it's a spice. And what I'm coming up with is I think it's a really, really nice oak spice. But it doesn't lean into like a tannic sort of experience, because sometimes something gets over oaked, gets a little bitter and tannic. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But that's not the case on this. It's not bitter and it's not tannic, but it is sharp. And there's just I don't know, I'm finding this to be just an excellent bourbon. I'm loving this. It kind of makes me wish that, maybe I could get a hold of some of this stuff in my area, but apparently if this is the single barrel one, it's a distillery thing. So I'm sure in the comments somebody can let me know a little more information about this. Like I said, I perused the website just for general information about this bourbon just before filming this, and I didn't see a whole lot of information on it, so I didn't really get into the whole information on the distillery, because I'd have been sitting there reading some stupid backstory probably of about their history, and how distilleries like to have this big story of how their bourbon came to be. I wasn't having that at the moment. I just want to learn about the bourbon. And that's why you guys are watching this video. You just want to learn about the bourbon. And the bourbon itself, as far as tasting goes, is fantastic. I'm absolutely loving this. Let's get into the final sip. Yeah, folks, I don't really have much more to say about that. That's a fantastic bourbon. Now, at $150, would I buy it? I don't know. I think if I had not had this, I would say definitely not, because I don't know. I don't know if I would spend $150 on a 10-year bourbon that I don't know anything about. After having tried this, I'm leaning more towards possibly buying it. For me, it kind of comes down to, a lot of times, I've said this before on the channel, whether or not I make a bourbon purchase, especially on a more expensive bottle, sometimes that has to do with my purchasing habits for the channel, because I try to keep new products coming through on the bar, try to keep trying new things, reviewing new things, and doing different things with different bottles, flights and blinds and stuff like that. And for every $150 bottle I buy, that's 3 bottles at $50 that I could have bought and maybe a lot of times enjoyed just as much. Now, this definitely drinks much better than a $50 bottle, so I don't think any $50 bottle I'm going to buy, well, I don't know. There's some good $50 bottles out there, but this really, really does drink a cut above, in my opinion. But, so I mean, for me to spend $150 on a bottle, I don't know, it's got to be something pretty special, pretty hard to get a hold of, that I'm willing to pay the money now because I know I'm not going to get another chance to buy it. But I will say this, I have had a handful of $150 bottles, and this is definitely, beats a lot of those. In my opinion, and this may not be popular, but I've had a couple of the Michter's 10-year products, courtesy of Non-Bike Riding, Dave Vogel saying they're really good, but they are really expensive. And I would take this over any of those ones that I've had any day so far. So, at the $150 price point, I don't know what Michter's 10-year bourbon or 10-year rye goes for MSRP. I see it for, fairly expensive, more than $150. But I don't know if that's, average or not, because that's not really a whiskey that's on my radar to buy. And honestly, I've only seen it a couple times. So my point is there are other premium bourbons out there at the 10-year mark that are more expensive than this, that I think this is much better than. So take that for what you will if you have a chance to maybe buy this. But I will say this, you have to like an oak forward bourbon. This definitely, for me anyway, the oak was the, kind of the main event on this bourbon. When that kind of wave of oak spice on the back end of it, that's like what the finish is. The finish is all oak. And so, yeah, which I really like, but I know some people are a little more sensitive to that as far as, sometimes, bourbons get over oaked for some people. That doesn't tend to happen for me, but I get it. And so this one, I would say, if you've never had it and you're thinking about making the $150 purchase, make sure you like oak forward bourbons. So anyway, folks, this has been Augusta Distillery Buckner's 10-year, courtesy of non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang. And what I was just gonna say there is, by the way, I'm not wearing my non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang t-shirt because I actually wore it a couple days ago. It's in the laundry. Otherwise, I would have wore it for the review. So Dave, if you're seeing this, I will bust out the shirt on the next sample review from you. So anyway, thank you very, very much, Dave. I appreciate this because, yeah, this is excellent. I'm gonna enjoy having that second part of this pour here. So anyway, folks, this has been The Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you on the next one.